Needs more credit, needs more respect. He's a number one quarterback in the SEC heading into 2023. And I don't want to say it's not close, but it's not as close as what I think, at least. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess what we're going to do today? Yep, that's right. You guessed correctly. We're going to rank the SEC quarterbacks from 14 to 1. This is the first time I've ever done a video like this on the channel where we rank a certain position group heading into the season all the way from 14 to 1. And let me know in the comment section if y'all want to see me do a wide receiver list, and we can also do running backs, tight ends, etc. I don't know if too many people will care about that, but here's what I do know. Everybody cares about the quarterbacks. Yeah, as much as I like to ramble, I think the premise of this video is relatively simple. It's self-explanatory. I just say we get straight into it. And the reason I got this idea is because somebody tagged me in this where I believe, 24/7 Sports, they came out with their own rankings. I'll show you their list right here. And no, I'm not going to go on a rant, tangent, rampage, because in my life, I'm not a complainer. I'm a problem solver, and that's what I'm going to do. I solve problems. Complaining does nothing for you in this life. So you know how we solve problems? We don't even talk about this list. We just make our own, and that's what we're going to do. I will say this, though, before we get into things. I know some of these teams you see right here on this list, we don't exactly know who's going to be the starting quarterback. Like, for example, with Auburn and Alabama at 10 and 11, we don't know if Jalen Leary or Peyton Thorne are actually going to be the starters. But, and I have a big but, for the sake of this video, every player you see on this list, we're just going to assume they're the starters. And also, I would agree with this. Right now, if I had to pick, I do think Peyton Thorne and Jalen Leary would be starting for both of those teams. I will say this, though, and it's the only thing I'm going to question on this list, and we're going to get into my list. I think it's very disrespectful to have Spencer Rattler at number 5. I don't like that a single bit. I don't like it. But without further ado, let's get into it. At number 14 on my list, you know who we got? Graham Mertz. If you have anyone outside of Graham Mertz at number 14, you've lost your mind. Graham Mertz, respectfully, is doo-doo cheeks. Keep in mind, though, when I say he's doo-doo cheeks, I'm comparing him to SEC competition. If he was in the ACC, Big Ten, or even the Pac-12, he'd probably be decent. He'd probably be at like number 6 or 7 on that list. But since you're in the SEC, no, you're doo-doo cheeks, and also in spring practice, he has looked terrible. In the spring game, it was awful. Graham Mertz is at number 14. It's really self-explanatory. The dude's not that good. At number 13 on our list, this is going to be the biggest shock out of all of them. I got Jalen Milroe. Yep, that's right. You heard me correctly. Now, I know what everybody's saying. What? Jalen Milroe at 13? Matt, what are you talking about? I get it. You're not used to hearing people talk bad about Bama, and I don't want to talk bad about my team either. But at the end of the day, look at the cold hard facts. He was terrible last year for Alabama. He played pretty much 2 games. Against Arkansas, he picked up where Bryce Young left off, and he started against Texas A&M. And in both of those games, he wasn't even average. He was bad. I watched a man in Jalen Milroe almost single-handedly cost Alabama to lose against Texas A&M at home. He was bad in that game, couldn't really pass against Arkansas either. In the spring game, wasn't too much better. What I've seen out of him up until this point, yes, 13, perfect spot. And I know Bama fans aren't going to like that, but here's the thing, and you got to do this when you make these lists. If Jalen Milroe didn't have on that Alabama jersey, where would you rank him? A lot of people out here are going to give players the benefit of the doubt and overhype them just because they play for Alabama, but not me. He's been terrible. I hope he turns things around, but heading into 2023, not good. 13 is a great spot. At number 12 on our list, and I kind of like this dude, but SEC is really deep this year when it comes to quarterbacks. I'm going to throw in Brady Cook from Missouri. Keep in mind, outside of Graham Mertz, I think every quarterback in the SEC and every quarterback room is solid. For example, let me show you Brady Cook's numbers. They're really not that bad. Last year in 2022, 2,700 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 INTs, and a QBR of 65.3, which was top 50 in the nation. I know nobody's going to give him credit, but Brady Cook from Missouri is a pretty dang good quarterback. I watched some film on him before I sat down to record this video, and I was like, wait a minute. This dude's legit. And this is a video for a different day, but don't sleep on Missouri. I think they may shock some people in this up-and-coming season. And oh yeah, by the way, where are my Missouri fans at? If you're a Missouri fan, let me know in the comments. I want to see y'all. Missouri football, just keep your eyes on them, and I'll leave it at that. At number 11 on my list, similar to Brady Cook, I watched some film, and I was like, hey, this dude ain't too shabby. I'm going to have A.J. Swan, quarterback from Vanderbilt. I know a lot of people have never heard of A.J. Swan, but I'm going to inform you, this dude's also pretty dang good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to flip-flop these. A.J. Swan, he's going to be at 12, and Brady Cook, he's going to be at 11. Because I do like Brady Cook a little bit more, so my apologies. Yet again, I'll pop it up right here. A.J. Swan, sorry for the confusion. He's 12, and Brady Cook's number 11. I'll show you some of his 2022 stats. nothing too impressive. 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, QBR 53.7. And I know his numbers, they don't pop out at you, but 10 touchdowns, 2 INTs, that's a good ratio. But the biggest thing about AJ Swan is, and you got to take this into account, he plays for Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's awful. So putting up decent numbers for Vanderbilt is got to account for something. And I know some people are going to say, well, Matt, how can you put AJ Swan above Jalen Milroe? And it's for this one reason right here. AJ Swan's not going to lose you a game, but Jalen Milroe, he can single-handedly lose you a game with all of his turnovers. And that's what concerns me most about Milroe, but we'll get to that in a different video as well. At number 10 on my list, I'm going to throw in Texas A&M's now sophomore quarterback, Conor Wingman. We didn't see him a lot last year, but when we did, I like what I saw, especially as a true freshman. Show you his numbers right here. Wow, what about this? Didn't even have an interception. 896 passing yards, to be exact. 8 tutties to 0 INTs, QBR 63.2. Not shabby at all. I like this Conor Wingman kid, but I don't want to overhype him too much because we didn't really have a great sample size to go off of. But like I said, what I did see, I was really impressed, and watch out for this guy. He could be a sneaky, really good quarterback in the SEC. And maybe throwing him at 10, that's underhyping him, but at number 9, I got Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne is the transfer from Michigan State to Auburn, and I like this kid's game. I'll show you his numbers from last year. Dang near 2,700 passing yards, 19 tutties to 11 INTs. Would like to see him clean that up, but he had a QBR of right at 69.8, 35th best in the country. The reason I like Peyton Thorne so much is because, number 1, he's playing for Hugh Freeze, and number 2, he fits that system. I don't want to say he's a gunslinger, but he can be reckless, and reckless quarterbacks and Hugh Freeze, they go hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It's a match made in heaven. I don't know what it is. I just have this weird hunch. I don't know if it's the witchcraft that goes on at Auburn University, but I think Peyton Thorne is going to have a good year for Auburn. I do expect him to be the starter. I do expect him to beat out Robbie Ashford, and I don't expect him to look back. Don't sleep on Peyton Thorne and Conor Wingman. Very solid guys. At number 8 on our list, I'm going to keep it somewhere 24/7 sports, and I'm going to put in Jackson Dart. I think that's a really great spot for him because last year he showed flashes of greatness, but he wasn't consistent. You could easily say, man, this kid could be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC next year, but you got to also say, hey, this kid could also have a lackluster of a season. And to go on top of all of that, he's fighting for a starting job. We don't even know if he's going to win it, but we're just going to presume that he's going to win it because he is the front runner. And I don't understand why Jackson Dart doesn't get enough love, and I really don't understand why Kiffin, well, I do understand it because you want a lot of great players, but I thought Jackson Dart was good enough to bring back as the starter, no ifs, ands, or buts, but Kiffin thinks otherwise. I like his game. He's a good dual-threat quarterback, fits the Lane Kiffin offense. Last year, 3,000 passing yards, 20 touchdowns to 11 INTs, and a QBR of 72.9. I think 8's a good spot, and we're going to keep it moving. At number 7 on our list, we're going to have the former NC State quarterback, now plays for Kentucky, Devin Leary. Devin Leary was good at NC State. He was really good 2 years ago. Last year, I believe he was battling some injury problems. I'm 99% sure on that. I'm just not sold on him that he can compete. Well, not compete, he can compete, but I mean really have a lot of success in the SEC. Yeah, he was good in the ACC, but the ACC is the worst conference in the Power 5. Where I'm trying to go with this is, yeah, he's good and talented, but I don't know how good and talented he actually is compared to SEC competition. We'll have to wait and see, but I do think he's good enough to put at number 7 because he was a baller at NC State. At number 6, I'm going to throw in Will Rogers. Quarterback from Mississippi State. Dude's got an awesome game. He's so fun to watch, but I don't exactly think he's a guy that can lead you to a 10 or 11 win season, especially for Mississippi State. I think he's good enough to get you to 8 or 9 wins, and it's not that having him at 6, I don't think he's a good quarterback. It's just the other guys on this list, they're so talented. I'm going to leave it at that. At number 5 on my list, here's where things start to heat up and get dicey. I'm going to throw in... oh, man, who do I want to put at 5? At number 5, I'm going to go with Joe Milton, man. I'm going to put Milton at a calm number 5. I think his potential sky high. You don't need me to sit up here and tell you what everybody's going to say. Oh, yeah, he has a rocket launcher of an arm. I'm so sick and tired of people saying that. When are people going to understand and realize having a rocket launcher of an arm doesn't equate to winning football? Who cares if you can throw the ball 85 yards? That doesn't matter. When are you ever going to throw an 85-yard pass in an actual game? Maybe once a year on a Hail Mary or something? You see what I'm saying? Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time because he was the best 5 to 10-yard passer. And unfortunately for Joe Milton, he is one of the worst 5 to 10-yard passers in the SEC. My concern with Joe Milton is I love the upside and I want to see him succeed, but I don't know if he can consistently complete the passes that Hendon Hooker completed last year. His arm, it's a rocket launcher, but can you control the rocket launcher? Can you make the rocket launcher accurate? That's the real problem here. So for me, I'm going to throw him at 5. I really don't think anybody's going to have too many problems with that whatsoever. At number 4 on my list, I'm going to have a new starter for the Georgia Bulldogs. Come on, man. You know who I'm about to say. Carson Beck. Good gosh almighty, man. I don't want to overhype this kid, but that spring game, he was looking dangerous. It put some fear in my heart, I'll say that. If he's playing as good as he did in that spring game in the regular season, nobody can beat Georgia. Nobody. I like everything I see out of him. We really don't have a sample size to go off of, but he's looked unreal in practice and in the scrimmages. And y'all know how I am. I don't like to overreact to scrimmages and stuff, but he's looked good. And he was a good prospect in high school, so I'm really expecting him to have a good season. We're getting into the top three, though, so we got KJ Jefferson left, Jaden Daniels, and the Rattler. Oh, what do y'all think about that? Rattler cracking the top three. Speaking of Rattler, he's going to be at number 3 on my list. I got the Rattler. I'm high on Spencer Rattler just because of what he did in the last couple weeks of the season. I think he finally, in his 8th year of college football, has figured it out. Spencer Rattler really struggled early on at South Kakalaki, but later in the year, he turned it on, man. He looked like that former 5-star recruit. I'm higher on most than Rattler, but watch out for the South Carolina team. I think Rattler, he's comfortable, he's confident, and that's the thing with Rattler. He has never been confident. He wasn't confident at Oklahoma. Everybody's booing him. And even at South Carolina, he wasn't confident in the first couple of weeks. You could see it. And I know players like this. A lot of guys out here, what separates NFL players from just college football players is confidence. I think he's ready to go. Everybody believes in him. He's not looking over his shoulder anymore. This is his team, and this is his year. I expect a lot out of him, and I'm very comfortable with putting him at number 3. Number 2 on this list, and obviously you're going to know who 1 is. Oh, man, Jaden Daniels, KJ Jefferson. Who are we putting it to? Oh, man, I'm really going back and forth with this one, but I'm going to put at number 2, Jaden Daniels. I wonder how many of y'all actually remember this. It was a week before the Bama game when I was like, hey, I think this guy's going to carve up Bama's defense and he's going to give them a lot of problems. Does anybody remember me saying that? I hope y'all do. And I remember so many Bama fans were like, yo, Matt, you're crazy. Jaden Daniels ain't that good of a quarterback. And well, we saw what happened. I think Jaden Daniels is one of the most underrated quarterbacks, not just in the SEC, but in the country. And I don't understand why he's underrated because how do you beat Alabama and people are still underrating you? How does that work? I don't know. He needs more hype. He needs more attention. I love me some Jaden Daniels. I really don't need to say anything about him because for a lot of these guys, their game, it speaks for themselves. So with that being said, at number 1, I got KJ Jefferson, quarterback for Arkansas. This is a no-brainer, and a lot of people are scared and reluctant to put him at number 1 just because he plays for Arkansas, and Arkansas isn't one of the best teams in the SEC. When people make their list, they normally want to go with the safe bet so nobody criticizes them, and they always want to put the best players from the best teams at number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But me, on the other hand, guess what? I don't work for ESPN. Y'all know how I am. I call it how I see it. Heck, man, the best example I can give you is I put Alabama's quarterback at number 13 on this list. And here's what I want y'all to think of. Just please, if you don't listen to a single other thing I say in this video, please listen to this part. If KJ Jefferson had a Georgia jersey on or an Alabama jersey on, he would be getting Heisman hype right now, wouldn't he? I'm asking y'all a question. Don't you think the perspective about KJ Jefferson and the narrative would be different if he had on that Alabama jersey or Georgia jersey? I do. But since he's wearing the Arkansas jersey, everybody's like, oh, yeah, Arkansas is not a serious contender, so, you know, we don't really need to talk about him. It's funny how things work, but the guy's just a great football player, and he's also turnover-free almost. And it wasn't just last year, but in 2021, look at this. 21 touchdowns, 4 INTs. 2022, 24 touchdowns, 5 INTs. All he does is play winning football. And to go on top of that, he's built like Cam Newton. He can also run, but I think he's a much better passer than what people give him credit for. In back-to-back years, he has completed 68% of his passes and has a QBR of 81.4. And keep in mind, he's doing this at Arkansas with lesser talent. Arkansas can't even compete with the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. They can't even compete with them. And the fact KJ Jefferson is putting up, I'd say, dang near Heisman numbers at Arkansas, he needs more credit. Needs more credit, needs more respect. He's a number 1 quarterback in the SEC heading into 2023. And I don't want to say it's not close, but it's not as close as what I think, at least. Does that even make sense? I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. He's number 1. The dude's a beast, man. The dude's a beast. And yeah, that's the end of my list. I'm extremely curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know some of your rankings and spots for these quarterbacks. Do y'all agree with my list or do you not agree with it? I thought it was pretty good. Let me know your thoughts down below. But